Hi there, it's Anna-Lena here. I'm out walking in the dark, and I just want to share some words about my own grandma. This is my grandma on my mother's side, and she died in 1989. She was 71 years old. She was born in 1918. That's when World War I ended, and she had 5 children, and among them were my mom. Sorry about the noise. And she didn't go to school. She didn't have like a formal education or anything, and she lived on the west coast. She grew up on the west coast of Norway and lived there all her life. And she grew up on a small farm with and they had to row to go to school and to go to church on Sundays. And not until many years later there was actually a road that was built to the place where she grew up. She was a very kind woman. She was a very loving woman, and she was also a funny woman. I mean, I was 22 when she died, so I knew her, of course, but then I didn't really know her that well. She was always, our grandma, and we'd go there. When we were children, we had to drive around 9 hours back then to get to our grandparents' home. So we'd usually go there like 2 times a year, and we were always very excited when we went there. So I want to share a story. I want to say something more about her, but I just really honor her because she's meant a lot to me. And I was not her favorite grandchild. That was my brother, my older brother, and my second youngest sister. They were more favorites there. You can just feel these things when you're a child. But we were all loved. We were all loved so much. But anyway, there are some stories about my grandmother. She never learned English. Of course, it was not part of the official curriculum in Norwegian schools back then, so she never knew English. But we had relatives who moved to America. I have relatives in America today. I met some of them, so at some point they had visitors coming from America and this was at a time where they no longer spoke Norwegian. They had assimilated into the American culture and they spoke English. And this is how the story goes. My grandma would have these people that came to visit her, and she'd say, "Well, I only know one English word." And that's unhappy Christmas. Does it get any better than that? No, I don't think so. So, but everything that I most of the things that I know about my grandma are things that my mom has shared with me, and are things that my grandma shared with my mom. And what I know is that when she gave birth to her 5th child, it was complications, and she was in hospital for the last 3 months of her pregnancy, and she was taken to a special hospital in the capital of Norway. And during giving birth to him, she had a near-death experience. And of course today I'd love to hear more about that. I would have loved to know more about that. But what she told my mom is that after that she was never ever afraid of people, which makes a lot of sense. I also know that she felt that she was, walking in a very, very beautiful and light and peaceful place, but I don't know the whole story at all. So after she had that experience, it was as if a channel must have been opened for her, because she started to write poetry. And I've known about this, I knew about this for years, and I maybe read one or two of them and so. And then, as I was going through the fire in my own life, I sat down, this is about 10 years ago, and I'd read through all her poems. As she wrote about 350 poems in her life. And that was such an experience to me. I come home from work and I sit down in the evening, the afternoons and the evening, and I'd read her poems. And I was just taken aback by the quality of the writing, about the beautiful descriptions, the scenery, the depth, the soul-seeking, the nature descriptions. My grandma, she knew her Bible. She would read in her Bible. I think she read in her Bible every day. So she knew it by heart, and she believed in Jesus. And as she said to my mom, who else am I going to believe in? I couldn't agree with her more. But as I sat down and I read through her poems one by one, it was as if I got to know her as a grown-up woman. And it was as if I got to know her from a deep place within, on a soul level, because there is so much soul in her poems, as it very often is in beautiful poetry. And I had established my own publishing company because I'd written stories myself. And so I sat down and I started reading through them and editing them and setting it up nicely and to publish them. And back in, when was this? It's quite a few years ago. I actually published my own grandmother's poetry collection in Norwegian, and in a Norwegian dialect. It's a West Coast dialect, and and I would read through those poems again and again and again and again. And there's some old dialect words that I had to look up. And even to this day, when I read one of her poems, although I have been working on them non-stop for months, weeks, months, it's as if I read that poem for the first time. Which is to me quite remarkable. So anyway, it was my wonderful grandma on my mom's side. So her name was Ingeborg Stenes Sætre, and I don't think I'll ever attempt to translate her poems into another language. I don't think that is going to be an easy job at all. Well, maybe, who knows, if I get some divine help, which I do. Maybe I will. If I do one day, I'm going to need that. That's for sure. So, yeah. Well, tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and they say it's the birthday of Jesus Christ, but we don't know that. But anyway, if there's one God we should definitely celebrate, it's Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. Yeah, well, those were the words, and as my grandma would say, unhappy Christmas.